Hello, good day everyone. So for today, we are going to talk about consumer education. So first, we ask the question, why do we need to study consumer education? Well, we know that in our everyday lives, whether it be purchasing, choosing to purchase, being pressured to purchase, or whatever data presented to us on televisions, computers, magazines, billboards, and so on, we consume in our everyday lives. Okay, so consumer education will help the consumer in many ways in protecting himself from the malpractices of the seller and, of course, in making judicious purchases. Another reason why do we need to study consumer education is that these will help you or anyone in making proper purchase. So these will help us as consumer in making right selections of the goods and services that we want to avail. Okay, and of course, this one helps us familiarize with the problems that we might encounter when making purchase. Okay, so this will provide us, of course, with comprehensive information about marketing conditions, such as various sources of purchasing a specific commodity, such that where to get the cheapest and best goods, or shops that offer additional services and the latest or trendy products. Okay, so in definition, consumer education is the process of gaining satisfaction through the considered use of personal and environmental resources. In addition, it promotes the development of a system for handling the continuous flow of consumer information while building consumer skills, principles, and understanding. Okay, so simultaneously, it aids the individual in translating his or her past experiences in terms of purchases into generalizations that can be applied in the future. So the value must be determined by the contributions to the betterment of present and future generations. Okay, so this serves a number of purposes, one of which is to familiarize the consumers with the various acts enacted by the government from time to time. So, consumer education will assist the consumers, you, your friend, your family, or anyone, in obtaining maximum satisfaction from the money that we have and of course at the same time living a higher standard of living. Okay, so one of the factors that affects consumer behavior is the lifestyle, and lifestyle can be broadly defined as the way a person lives. So just like what scholars such Hickey, Nader, and Williams said, when it comes to consumer choices, lifestyle is critical. Let's say that not just because two women are of the same age and they earn the same amount of money does not mean that they will buy the same products. For example, you are a 22-year-old adult and you have a friend who's who is at the same age as you and you earn such income in a common range, it doesn't mean that you two will buy the same products all the time. Okay, so the lifestyle has an effect on that or on your consumer behavior. Okay, so now let's say another example. Let's state another example. One is the social status. Okay, so the social status of a person is also one of the most important factors in determining how and why people purchase certain products and services. Okay, so it can affect the quality and the quantity of what people buy. Okay, so of course, we know that the more money that you have, then the more that you can afford higher quality products or goods because you have more money to spend than those who are earning um, lesser than you. Okay, that's why some people who earns less, or maybe let's say those low income earners, some of them prefer to buy goods that are cheap, but of course at least still in the good condition or are still in good quality. We can say that these people prefer those ukay-ukay products or those second-hand products, while those people earning higher income prefer those products with high or well-established brand, such the Louis Vuitton products, the Dior, other products. Another one is of course the activity that a consumer is involved in. For example, people activities that people engage in have a significant impact on how their money is spent. For example, let's say a person who works in a gym and is very dedicated to it will more likely to spend the majority of their money on gym clothes, weights, exercise machines, or the equipments, and of course also consuming healthy foods because they are really concerned about their body. So likely they will spend or consume products related to their activity or interests. Another one is of course the self-image that a person holds for himself or herself. Let's say when someone buys or what someone buys is heavily influenced by their perception of how they should appear. Okay, so for example, a mother who, while she may not always eat the healthiest foods, believes she is healthy and fit and enjoys coffee with her daughters, she can go out straight from the gym or from home feeling good about herself and looking stylish. Okay, so that is her self-image. Okay, so these are just some of the factors that affects the consumer behavior. Now let's go talk about some internal influences. So those are just some of the factors that can affect consumer behavior. Now let's go talk about the internal and external influences that affects the consumer behavior. So for instance, you can see here the demographic, and let's talk how the demography affect the consumer behavior. Demographic factors includes the age, the sex or the gender, social status, the income, the family background, the education, the occupation, the family size, geographic factors, and of course the psychological factors. So we have already talked about the how the income or the social status of a person affects his or her consumer behavior. So of course, uh, we have also other factors. For instance, of course, those the difference between the male and the female purchases. Of course, there are norms that we have. For example, we associate the blue color to male and the pink colors to female. So what will happen is uh, the products which are colored blue will more likely be consumed by the male consumers than by the female consumers, because the female consumers would likely prefer the products colored pink and those colors related to that. Another one is, of course, the age. There are products wherein uh, it is only suitable for a certain age. For example, the toys that we have, such as the cars, those robots and uh, toys played by a remote, are more likely be consumed by mothers who have child or kids at the age of from 1 to 10, for instance. And those products or goods and services, such as the milk tea or some of the foods which are really trending nowadays, will more likely be consumed by the young adults. Okay, so that is how the age affects the consumer behavior. Of course, for instance, let's also talk about the occupation. Okay, so there are certain occupation wherein they require certain equipments or certain uniforms. So these occupations or these professionals will more likely spend their money on buying those equipments than those who have not or do not have requirements for their occupation. Another one is, of course, the personality of a target consumer. Okay, it is also important for marketers or the sellers to know about. Okay, so the personality refers to the visible aspects of our character. So we tend to buy the products that are consistent with our self-concept as consumers. In other words, we want the products to match, to blend in with who we think we are. Okay, so that's how our personality could affect our consumer behavior. So, for example, if you're a female and you are more likely to be on the kikai side, girly, so you will spend your money on buying girly products such as, of course, crop tops, dresses, baggy jeans, such that. Okay, so because we want to buy products that represents who we are, represents our personality. Okay, so that's how our personality influences our consuming behavior. Of course, the motivation. Motivation refers to the psychological incentive or our reason for doing something, or of course buying something. When we just want to buy something because it rewards us, it motivates us. So uh, these affects our consuming behavior. Okay, so an individual's motivation, perception, attitude, and beliefs are considered, of course, as the psychological factors. Okay, and those we mentioned, such as the income level, the personality, occupation, they are categorized as the personal factors. Okay, of course, let's talk about, of course, the knowledge, which is an internal influence. Knowledge refers to the fact that when we know something about a certain product, we watch through the advertisements from the televisions or the radio, it can also affect our consuming or purchasing behavior. For example, we learned that a certain soap can make our skin whiter, and we want to achieve that uh, skin, then it is more likely that we will spend our money on buying that product to achieve that certain goal. Okay, So now let's talk about the external influences or external factors. Of course, we know that the culture of a society reflects its traditions, norms, values, and customs. Okay, and these have a strong influence on our shopping habits. For example, our culture says that we need to wear traditional attire on marriage, and this is what we have been following some years ago, then it is more likely that we will comply on this one, and it will affect our consuming behavior. For instance, if our community holds a strong belief about wearing a white gown on or during your wedding day, then it is more likely that you will buy that product instead of buying another color of the gown or another style, wherein we know that in today's um, generation, some of the women prefer to buy some casual dresses instead of gowns. So now acceptance of resisting that culture also shows us that culture really plays a role in our consuming behavior. Okay, so each culture further comprises of various subcultures such as religion, the age, geographical location, of course the gender again, status. Okay, take for example a subculture of uh, K-pop fans. Okay, so there are a certain groups of people uh, which idolizes some K-pop idols, and these also serves as a platform or as a medium to offer products which relates to their idols. So they have merch. Okay, so some people or these fans, so-called fans of these K-pop idols, will more likely spend their money on buying this merch. For example, let us say a certain K-pop group, BTS, people relate this particular group into the color of purple. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And now you will know and you will notice that their fans buy goods produced by the business people, businessmen, businesswomen, in providing the BTS products. Another example will be people from the upper class will have a tendency to spend money on high-end items such as expensive gadgets, cars, bags, dresses, shoes, okay, and so on. So you would be hard pressed to find someone from the lower class buying such items, okay? So a person who is struggling to make end meets would rather spend on items that are essential for survival, like what I explained a while ago. Okay, and of course, individuals in the middle class are generally more interested in purchasing products that will secure their future. Okay, now let's talk about the lifestyle marketing. Since we talked a while ago about lifestyle marketing, so Plummer said that lifestyle patterns combines the virtues of demographics with the richness and dimensionality of psychological characteristics. Lifestyle is used to segment the marketplace because it provides the broad, everyday view of consumers' lifestyle segmentation and can generate identifiable whole persons rather than isolated fragments. Okay? In other words, lifestyle marketing is a marketing strategy that positions a product or service as having ideals, aspirations, or aesthetics that the target audience can relate to. In other words, these refer to the brands that we know. Okay, for example, we have the Nike, the Adidas, Louis Vuitton, and others. Okay, so these brands are promoted in this way because they have become a way of life for their target audience. Okay, so they are immersive and they encapsulate the ideas or values of their customers and integrate seamlessly into the consumer's life. Okay, and lifestyle marketing matters because these brands are deeply ingrained in an audience psyche or mind. Okay, a lifestyle gives meaning and purpose to people's lives by defining who they are, how they see themselves, or who they aspire to be. Just like what I explained with the BTS merch. Okay, so uh, being a fan of these idols and purchasing the products offered by them or their managers, you can actually assume or you can think that by just purchasing these products, you become one of them. You are one of the community that, of course, lives the life and aspirations of these idols. Okay, so just to make it clearer, when it comes to marketing, lifestyle marketing refers to a strategy in which a company aligns itself with and embodies the aspirations, ideals of its target market. Okay, so for example, when we see someone wearing a brand like Nike, okay, so it can make that person feel being a part of the athletic community even if he or she is not. Okay, so you can also identify with skateboarding subculture when you wear a pair of Vans. Okay, so that is how the lifestyle marketing works. Okay, another useful as application of the lifestyle concept relates to consumers' shopping orientation. Okay, we know that different customers approach shopping in very different ways. It can be because of the efficiency. Okay, another one is uh, hedonic, and of course, another orientation is comparing the price and the quality. Okay, so we know that consumers have different attitudes and opinions about shopping and different levels of interest, of course, in shopping. Okay, so once people know their alternatives and how do they evaluate and choose among them? So in particular, how do people choose among brands of a product? Okay, so there are different kinds of shopping orientation as I have mentioned. So as a consumer, one has the tendency to go shopping only when something is needed. Okay, that is the shopping orientation of efficiency. Okay, so he or she just buy what is needed. Okay, so another one is we buy or a consumer buy because of a certain enjoyment that he will get from purchasing a product or a service. Okay, so it can be because of adventure, of novelty, or just pure curiosity. Okay, so we consider that shopping orientation as hedonic. Another one is, of course, the price versus quality. So it's the consumer's tendency to place greater importance on low prices rather than high quality when shopping. So particularly with respect to groceries, or it can happen also vice versa. Well, now there are also major factors influencing consumer behavior. So we have already talked about the internal and external influences. And for now, let's further discuss the psychological factors we have mentioned a while ago, the motivation, perception, learning, attitudes, and beliefs. Okay, so human psychology is a major determinant of consumer behavior. And these factors are difficult to measure because it's psychology, it's in our psyche, but of course we know that these are powerful enough to influence a buying decision. So, one of the important psychological factors, as we mentioned, is the motivation. So, when a person is motivated enough, it can influence the buying behavior of the person. So a person has many needs. We know we have the social needs, our basic needs. We have the food, the water, electricity, of course, security needs for our house, for our home, STEAM needs, and self-actualization, as according to Abraham Maslow on his hierarchy of needs. And out of all these needs, the basic and the security needs take a position above all the other needs. So according to these different levels or different needs, okay, is of course or pertains to different motivations. Okay, so they have the power to motivate a consumer to buy products and services. Okay, so for example, if a person suffers or has a low income or earning less than the other families, so they will more likely spend their money on their basic needs, okay, because they have to survive. That's the first one that we need to uh, provide according to our hierarchy of needs. Another psychological factor is the perception. And consumer perception is a process where a customer collects information about a product and it interprets the information to make a meaningful image about a particular product. So, a consumer can collect information or can learn about a product again through the ads or through reference groups, through people that reviews a products. Okay, so when a customer sees advertisements, promotions, customer reviews, social media feedback relating to a product, they can develop an impression about the product. So hence, the consumer's perception becomes a great influence on the buying decision of consumer. So as I have explained a while ago about buying a soap that can make your skin whiter than before. So if you see that such product is really effective as according to the customer reviews, then it is more likely that you purchase that product. Okay, and another one, of course, related to this is learning. And when a person buys a product, he or she gets to learn something more about the product. Okay, so that is why we provide reviews after purchasing the product. And learning comes over a period of time through experience. That is why we keep on coming back or we keep on buying again the products that we bought earlier or in the past because we have learned something about it, such as its effectivity and benefits to you. Okay, and of course, a consumer's learning depends on the skills and knowledge that we have. Okay, so we know that knowledge can be acquired through experience. Okay, so now let's have the attitude and beliefs. And of course, these can also largely influence the buying decision of a consumer. So based on attitude, the consumer behaves in a particular way towards a product. Okay, so this attitude plays a significant role in defining the brand image of a product. Therefore, the marketers or the sellers try hard to understand the attitude of a consumer to design their marketing campaigns. Okay, so of course, we, after buying a product or even hearing about it through a friend or a classmate or a family, we form attitudes and beliefs towards it. So it will influence whether we buy a certain product or not. Okay, so now let's go to the social factors. we have the family, the reference groups, and roles and status. We know that we as humans are social beings, and we live around many people who influence our buying behavior. And uh, we can deny it, but some of us actually try to imitate other humans, and we also wish to be socially accepted in the society. This is why we have some pegs. When we admire some actors or actress, we tend to buy the products that they promote or that they wear or that they offer, because we want to imitate, or we have that kind of thinking that somehow we would like to look like them or be like them in some aspects. Okay, so our buying behavior can influence as well the other people around us. Okay, so all right, let's talk about the family, because the family plays a significant role in shaping our buying behavior. Of course, we develop our preferences when we were young, during our childhood, by watching our family, observing what they buy and what they continue to buy. So when we grow up, we also gets to adopt what they're buying or purchasing behavior. Okay, when of course family is the basic unit of society, and we got a lot of trust and love toward our family. That's why they really play a significant role in our buying behavior. Okay, so another one is the reference group. So when we say reference group, it refers to the group of people with whom we associate ourselves. Okay, generally, all the people in the reference group have common buying behavior and influence each other. So, in other words, it's just simply the groups that we identify or associate ourselves. So, I explained a while ago about the BTS, and this also, or that situation also explained this factor. Okay, so we feel that we belong to a community, so we influence each other. We can suggest or recommend a product that we use, okay, because we have common interests with certain members of that groups. Okay, so another one is the roles and the status, of course. Yes, a person's status can influence our buying behavior, as I explained a while ago. Okay, so again, to reiterate it, if a person is in a high position, so his buying behavior will be influenced largely by his status. When we have more money, we tend to avail products that cost a lot of money or are expensive, because we believe that we deserve it, or probably because we believe or we have a perception that they are of high-end quality products, of course. Okay, now let's have the cultural factors. And again, we have discussed the influence of culture as an external influence on the buying behavior of a consumer. Okay, so and cultural factors refer to, of course, we know that a group of people associated with a set of values and ideologies that belong to a particular community. So, we know that when a person comes from a particular community, his or her behavior is highly influenced by the culture relating to that particular community. So, let's talk about again the culture. So, uh, these include the basic values, the needs, the wants, the preferences, the perceptions and behavior that are observed and learned by a consumer from their near family members and other important around them, or people in their community that holds particular culture. Okay, so I've already talked about the subculture again. So about the BTS and some age groups, okay? So subcultural groups share the same set of beliefs and values as well. Okay, so in social class, again, I've talked about this already. So each and every society across the globe has forms of social class. Okay, so would like to highlight that this is not just about or determined by the income, but also other factors such as the occupation, the family background, education, and residence location. Okay, so this one is also important to predict the consumer behavior. Okay, so again, the personal factors, we have already talked about this. This is just to sum up. We have the age, the income, occupation, lifestyle. Okay, and economic factors includes the personal income. If you are already working, so you can buy what you want, but when you are just a student like now, then your buying behavior can also influence by how much money your parents actually give you or how much money you also earn from doing part-time jobs or maybe tutorials. Okay, so of course the family income also determines the buying behavior. So consumer credit, or when a consumer is offered easy credit to purchase goods, it promotes higher spending. The more that people are kind and good to give you um, the products that you need, even though you don't have the money yet, okay, it is more likely that you can pay more money because you actually have larger credit. Okay, so of course the savings as well influence the buying behavior, because the more money that you save, okay, uh, the more products you can buy as well if you decided to. So if a consumer decided to save more, then his expenditure on buying reduces. The more that you keep the money, the more that you save, then in the future, the more that you can spend. Okay, so that's all for today. So I'll see you in our next class. Thank you.